Hello, everyone. Sue Paulson here, your magnificence mentor. Welcome to the Healing Call of Cancer. Today, I wanted to talk about S.E.Es. So what does S.E.E stand for? It stands for Significant Emotional Event. Now, setting judgment aside, an S.E.E can relate to anything. It could be your first kiss is a pretty significant emotional event. Your first day of school. When we're young, we have lots of S.E.Es because we're new on the planet and they just accumulate, excuse me, over time. What I want to talk more about today is significant emotional events that hit us like a Mack truck, that are those 2x4 experiences that we go, oh, why did I have to go through that? And I never want to go through that again. So these have a particular impact on our psyche, because when the memories bubble up of those particular situations or events, then we kind of live or relive the trauma, because usually there's lots of trauma and drama out of those less favorable emotional events. Now, when we're going through an S.E.E, we don't often recognize the enormity of it. We don't often take it all in because we're busy surviving, just getting through minute by minute. If there's pain, if there's treatments, if there are surgeries, procedures, well, we're just following whatever we need to follow to get through that time, to get through that day and beyond into a healing perspective. But at some point, the enormity of that whole scenario kind of hits us full force. And then we have a choice. We have a choice in how we're going to deal with it, what we're going to do with that onslaught of information. So I've read a little bit more over the years about post-traumatic stress and how that can impact us. And for a good period of time, PTSD was related primarily to first responders, to the military that are coming back from a tour of duty somewhere in the world where it was a war-torn country or whatever. And so what happened to them was significant, and it affected them emotionally. And there was a big aftermath of that because of that trauma. Well, what I've read since, some of the psychiatrists that have explored PTSD and worked with it said it isn't just related to first responders and the military. Anyone can have PTSD as a result of a significant emotional event that maybe they've had trouble dealing with, maybe they've had trouble working through and coming to terms with, coming to grips with. So if we want to live our best lives, if we want our own heaven on earth, then there's a process that's important that we go through to be able to release the trauma, release whatever it was that impacts us so strongly in that the emotion of that event, because the emotion translates into the body. And so we need to deal with it, mind, body, and soul, in order to have it dissipate. So just let me give you an example. When I was going through cancer, it was a huge shock to me, and a huge event in my life that took all of my attention for, well, 2 years and beyond. Well, it was enormous, and because I tend to be a pretty sensitive soul, I didn't want to relive it. I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to entertain the idea that that had even happened to me. And yet, because I because of the re-engineering of my body through that whole process, I had evidence every day and a reminder every moment of every day that this had happened to me. So I didn't have I had a choice to not deal with it, but I chose as I could to deal with it. So the first thing was to acknowledge the enormity of what had happened. Now, was my cancer as bad as somebody else's? No, I was slated in at stage 2, and treatment for me, even though it was pretty rough, wasn't as bad as what I know of from other people's reports. But that doesn't mean it wasn't enormous for me. One of the mistakes that I see people making is when they have some kind of significant emotional event and a big happening like cancer in their lives or heart attack or some other thing, if it gets the label, well, it was minor or it's not that severe, there's a tendency to want to just brush it off and say, well, I don't have to pay that much attention to it because there's other people out there suffering far worse than I am or I did. No, it doesn't mean that it's not enormous for you. So you need to take a look at it full face, full force, to explore it and say, okay, what kind of impact has this had on me? Now, it might be 6 months after you're through your treatments and beyond. It might be a year before you feel ready to deal with this. So it's good to pay attention to little red flags along the way. So if you find yourself falling into a big vat of fear about, whoa, maybe I'm not going to make it. What if the cancer comes back? And there's all this onslaught of questions and this questioning of, can I ever live a good life now? And all of those sorts of things. Well, there's a signal that your whole being is doing its best to process this, and you need to help it. You need to help this process along. I'm the first one to recommend getting help for this kind of exploration, because when we're in our own minds, things can just race and race and race and race, like the hamster on the wheel, and nothing ever positive comes out of it, or it seems like nothing positive comes out of it, because we just relive the same old thing that goes on and on and on, and finally we say, I can't handle this, this is too much, and rightfully so. But someone else, a professional who is on your side, who is neutral, they have no stake in the game about the healing that you do, other than their own professional desire and commitment to get you through from wherever you are to wherever you want to be. So you can tell them anything. They're virtually strangers at the start, and they're open. They've been trained to listen. They've been trained to guide and lead. And I had tremendous help from a hypnotherapist who walked me through and got me through from out of the trauma, out of the fear, to where I could feel my own power again. Because of course, I am way more than cancer, and you are way more than cancer, just as you're way more than any other adversity that might come into your life. So, but sometimes we feel kind of beaten down, and we don't feel strong. We don't feel confident. We second guess ourselves and we doubt ourselves. And that can spell disaster if it carries on for too long. So it's really important to do what you can when you can, when it feels right for you to just dive in. And if somebody says to you, you're not yourself, maybe you need to get some help, listen to that person. Because what can it hurt to explore it with someone else who knows what to do, who knows the steps to take? Now, it can be a big financial hit to seek the help of a professional, But there are support groups that can give you an arena to explore what's been happening and to feel not so alone in the journey that you're on, and begin to sort things out for yourself and with the help of others in a shared experience. So that, and usually those groups don't cost anything. So that's another option that you can take, and you can do both if you choose to. Now, as you work through things by yourself and in the quietness of your own heart and mind in your own home, one of the things that I did that was important was to acknowledge, yes, this has happened to me and it's big. It has changed me in ways that I can't even understand just yet. So I'm not who I was before. I'm different now. I don't exactly know what that means, but I'm different. And part of that, then the grieving process tends to be there in full force, because we grieve the loss of who we used to be and how we used to be. And there's anger, there's sadness, there's tears, there's fears, all of that as part of this journey as you move from surviving cancer to thriving in the rest of your life. And I'm assuming that's your goal. If you're listening, it's probably what your goal is, because that was sure my goal was, I want to be able to thrive. I want to move from where I am now. And of course, is an interesting thing as part of that process was I realized that who I was before and how my life was before wasn't necessarily that great. There were pieces of it that I thought, oh, if I could just have a do-over. Well, here I am. I get a do-over. I can change whatever wasn't working to something that will work. I have that power, I have that ability, and there's an opportunity right in front of me if I have the courage to take it. So it takes a certain amount of bravery and courage to venture out and say, okay, now what? Where am I going from here? So that acknowledging it, that feeling it, like allow the feelings right into your tissues of the enormity of what's happened to you. Now, you may not be able to allow that feeling for very long, particularly if it's huge, but allow what you can, allow a piece of it and acknowledge it and give it compassion. Give you compassion. This is the time to be the most compassionate that you've ever been towards yourself. You need to love yourself through this. This is so important that at your core, there's this magnificent being that you are that deserves all the love that you can pour forth. And maybe you've had people around you who have been pouring love towards you as you go through your experience and as you begin to heal. And now that your attention is not centered on that part of the journey, and you can focus on you and how you're going to go from here, this is the time to just pour buckets and buckets of love and give yourself lots of compassion through this, and that will serve you well. It will really help. And part of that process is congratulating yourself for making it through. Maybe you didn't go through it in quite the way you had planned. Maybe things went awry. Maybe it took longer than you expected. It doesn't matter. Here you are to tell the tale. So celebrate that. Say, wow, I never would have thought I could have got through that. And here I am. And I know for me, there were days when I didn't want to, I wanted to give up. I wanted to just say, that's it. I quit. I'm not doing this anymore. And then someone would say something and I'd go, oh, okay, I'll go a little farther. I'll keep struggling, because a lot of it was a struggle. And there was more suffering, and okay, I guess I go again. So you rest for a minute and take a deep breath and move forward. Well, the fact that you got to some sort of finish line, whatever that is. Well, I made it to here, and then I made it to here, and then I made it to here. All those benchmarks are so needing to be celebrated, that you got through. So don't leave that step out. And again, it doesn't matter what anybody else experienced in your journey, in their journey. This is your journey, and you deserve to give the best to it, and to honor yourself for all that you did, and to achieve whatever you achieved. So that's really important. As I mentioned, you might notice that as you go about your daily life, that there are stumbling blocks that relate right back to whatever trauma you're feeling or you felt at the time, that can block you from moving forward. So that's when it becomes important to pay really close attention to that. And if you have no one to talk to about that, then write it down. Journaling is an amazing way of making sense of things that don't make sense in your head. There's something about putting pen to paper. I mean, you can type it on a tablet or whatever if you like. I just find, for me personally, that pen to paper and that physical act of writing my thoughts, and I just do stream of consciousness writing. I don't plan it out. I just let the words flow as much as possible. And maybe I have this particular topic or issue in mind, and say, what about that? And what's going on with that? And how do I feel about that? And I just write until I don't feel like writing anymore. At the very least, I've got it out of me and onto the paper, so I feel lighter. That's one benefit for sure. And of course, as you read it again, then you go, oh, I see. So this is the opportunity for your higher self to weigh in and give you revelations and understandings that you would not have got in the hamster wheel of your mind and rolling around and nothing productive happened. But the journaling can make a huge difference. Along the way, I knew early on, just because of old training I'd had in how the universe works, and then my resulting beliefs from that, I knew that I was facing some lessons, and I knew there were going to be gifts to come out of it. I didn't know what they were exactly. I figured out the lessons pretty early on, but I wasn't sure about the gifts. But I knew that there were gifts, just like Christmas comes every year for me. I knew that at some point the gifts would reveal themselves to me. So I was dedicated to being open to whatever gifts came. And they did come, and I felt so cherished because the gifts were there. And then I understood why many people that I've come across have said, cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. Why? Because it opened up pieces of their lives that they may never have seen before. It gave them the opportunity for the ultimate do-over, basically. But in the do-over, it's important to let go of the things that no longer serve you. And in some cases, to let go of the relationships that no longer serve you. Maybe you disliked your job heartily when you were before you got cancer, or before something really traumatic happened to you. Well, here's your opportunity. Well, who am I now? And what do I most want to do? This is your time to shine and say, you know what? Life is short. For however many days I have left on planet Earth, I'm going to dedicate myself to having the people around me that I most want to be with, and getting the joy from that situation. And I'm going to surround myself with events and activities that mean something to me, that I say, wow, that was time well spent, whether it's playing with your grandkids or fishing in a stream in far northern North America. It doesn't matter what it is. If it fills something in you, oh, excuse me, then it's worth putting on your list. So this is the time to make a new bucket list and say, all right, what's important to me before I decide to leave planet Earth? What is it that's uppermost in my mind right now? I have a friend who really wanted to take her mom to Elvis's place, to Graceland, because her mom is a huge Elvis fan, and her mom was really failing in health. So this was not an easy journey for either one of them, but they did it. And so her mom, when she crossed over and went home, it was with the satisfaction that, wow, something that I always wanted to do, my daughter made that happen for me. And in turn, her daughter could say to herself, I did that for my mom. That was my mom's heart's desire, and I was able to fulfill that. So there's the rewards in life, right? It isn't all about, well, how much wealth did I accumulate, or how productive was I at work, and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, that may not float your boat. That may not sing to you the same as the experiences and the connections that we have with people that just make that good feeling, that bubbling up of joy and love and delight that comes into our lives, that puts a smile on our face and floods our bodies with endorphins. That's what we're after. That's what we're after. And particularly traumatic, significant emotional events give us that opportunity, even though we're not that impressed with what comes at us. Often the pain that is started because of that process leads us to something far, far better, something richer, something deeper, and something that will endure for the rest of the time that we're here. So that's my take on significant emotional events. I'm sure you can Google and get more information if you want to explore PTSD. There are lots of good books out there now that will help you track, is this what I'm going through? Is that what I'm experiencing? And of course, lots of skilled professionals that can really help move you through from wherever you are to wherever you want to be. You know you can do this because you're that magnificent. So until next time, I want you to take the best care of you ever. Love yourself through whatever you're going through. Cut yourself some slack. You're doing the best you can. Everybody's always doing the best they can. And we'll see you next time on the Healing Call of Cancer. Oh, and if you're finding these videos worthwhile, you can always access more inspiring and uplifting content through my free app, The Magnificence Mentor. Just download it from iTunes or Google Play. Sign up as a member. That opens up, it's a free sign up, free membership. You just need your email and a password in there with your name, and just it opens up more content for you on the app. Take good care. We'll see you next time.